The woman was lovingly cooing her child to sleep when suddenly an alarm blared through the room. Before she could react, two aliens entered. One took the child while the other forcibly led the woman away. The room turned out to be merely a mock-up the aliens had built to replicate Earth dwellings. The woman desperately begged the aliens to let her keep these memories, but it was impossible. Annie was sent directly back home. When she woke in bed the next day, she had forgotten everything about the spacecraft. She didn't even remember having a child. Her husband Jack mentioned she'd been lying on the floor when she woke up that morning and must have been freezing. Annie was puzzled, as the heater had clearly been set to warm. Jack was confused too. Had he remembered wrong? Unbeknownst to him, Jack had also been abducted by the aliens last night. The cold he felt was from when the aliens experimented on him. But afterward, his memories were similarly suppressed by the aliens. They had only placed him on the floor due to an operational error when returning him to the room. The aliens went to such lengths because they couldn't survive in oxygen-rich environments. To invade Earth quickly, they needed to create hybrid beings by combining human and alien genes. The aliens thought they had covered their tracks perfectly, but they underestimated the human subconscious. Jack's subconscious had imprinted the image of the embryos he'd seen during his abduction onto a cup. This unexpectedly triggered Annie's memories. Similarly, the bracelet Annie wore reminded Jack of the restraints the aliens had used on him. Though images flashed through their minds, they simply dismissed them as hallucinations at the time. Until one midnight, Annie was suddenly awakened by her subconscious before the aliens could take her for research. She felt uneasy, and when she turned her head, an owl was staring directly at her through the window. Annie was startled. The next day, she anxiously told Jack about it, but Jack thought it was normal for a bird to occasionally perch outside the window and told her not to worry. However, Annie didn't tell Jack she had already seen owls many times in the middle of the night. Annie confided in her two close friends about this. They were shocked. In folklore, owls were harbingers of death. Even a passing restaurant owner who overheard gave Annie a protective charm. Annie felt increasingly anxious. At home, she mentioned that owls represented death omens, but as someone who believed in science, she obviously didn't buy into such superstitions. Just then, her son excitedly chimed in that he'd read in a science fiction story that owls were alien surveillance devices. If someone kept seeing owls for no reason, it meant they were being watched by aliens. Though her son was joking, Annie took it seriously. She secretly visited an alien conspiracy website, which indeed claimed owls were alien monitoring devices. Annie then attended an offline meetup from the website. There she met a man who had also been seeing owls. He said he'd moved to a new house to stop seeing them, but the owls still followed him. Until one day while showering, he accidentally discovered a small lump behind his knee that he'd never noticed before. According to others, these lumps might contain chips implanted by aliens. To emphasize his credibility, the man added that people worldwide experienced this phenomenon. Annie's face grew grave as she touched her own neck. There was a similar small lump there, which she discovered after showering these past 2 days. Annie felt she might have found the truth. That night before sleeping, Annie deliberately handcuffed one hand to the bed frame. The next morning when she woke, she immediately checked the handcuffs. To her horror, Annie discovered they had been unlocked, and several large words had been written on her hand with a marker.